Narrator, calm/ominous tone. June 6, 1944. The beaches of Normandy are forever remembered as the turning point of World War II. For the Allies, it was a day of courage, sacrifice, and liberation. But for the Germans, it was a day of terror, confusion, and unimaginable horror. Today, we retell the story of D-Day, not through the familiar Allied lens, but through the eyes of the men ordered to stop the invasion. The Wehrmacht soldiers in their bunkers, the gunners in their pillboxes, the officers in their command posts, who faced an assault unlike anything they had ever imagined. This is D-Day, through German eyes. Narrator. For months, German troops along the French coastline had waited. Hitler's Atlantic Wall, a sprawling network of bunkers, artillery batteries, mines, and obstacles, was meant to repel any invasion. Soldiers manning those fortifications lived with constant rumors Britain would invade any day. Voice actor reading from a German soldier's diary. Every night we expected them, and every morning when the sun rose, we sighed in relief that nothing had happened, but we knew, someday they would come. Narrator. German intelligence had been deceived by Allied trickery. Dummy tanks and fake radio traffic convinced them the invasion would come at Calais, not Normandy. As a result, the defenses at Normandy were thin. The soldiers stationed there were a mixture of hardened veterans and young conscripts, many from occupied Eastern Europe. They were cold, underfed, and tired of waiting, but no one could have been ready for what was coming. Narrator. For months, German troops along the French coastline had waited. Hitler's Atlantic Wall, a sprawling network of bunkers, artillery batteries, mines, and obstacles, was meant to repel any invasion. Soldiers manning those fortifications lived with constant rumors. Britain would invade any day. Voice actor reading from a German soldier's diary. Every night we expected them, and every morning when the sun rose, we sighed in relief that nothing had happened, but we knew, someday they would come. Narrator. German intelligence had been deceived by Allied trickery. Dummy tanks and fake radio traffic convinced them the invasion would come at Calais, not Normandy. As a result, the defenses at Normandy were thin. The soldiers stationed there were a mixture of hardened veterans and young conscripts, many from occupied Eastern Europe. They were cold, underfed, and tired of waiting, but no one could have been ready for what was coming. At first light, German sentries peered through the mist at an impossible sight. Nearly 7,000 Allied ships stretched across the horizon. Battleships, destroyers, landing craft, an invasion force of biblical proportions. Voice actor, German, private, oral history. The sea was black with ships. It was as if the entire world had come against us. Narrator. The German coastal batteries opened fire. Massive guns thundered, but within minutes, Allied warships answered back, unleashing a storm of shells. Entire German positions vanished under mountains of earth and flame. German gunner's memoir. The noise was beyond description. The ground shook as if the world was ending. Our bunker filled with smoke and dust. We could not hear each other scream. Nowhere was the horror greater than Omaha Beach. The German 352nd Infantry Division, veterans from the Eastern Front, held the high ground. Their machine guns, mortars, and artillery turned the beach into a killing field. Voice actor, German MG-42 gunner. We saw the landing craft open, and the men stumble out. We fired, the machine gun rattled without end. Men fell and rose, but still, they kept coming. We could not believe it, they walked into death. Narrator. For hours, German defenders mowed down wave after wave of American soldiers. Yet the tide could not be stopped. Naval guns blasted the cliffs, tanks crawled ashore, and small groups of U.S. infantry climbed through the chaos. German soldiers' letter found after the war. I fired until the barrel of my gun was glowing red. But no matter how many fell, more came. It was as if the sea itself was giving birth to soldiers. Narrator. By noon, the German defenses at Omaha were cracking. Ammunition was running low, positions destroyed, commanders dead. Elsewhere, German troops faced the same nightmare. At Utah Beach, American paratroopers attacked from behind, leaving defenders trapped and surrounded. At Gold, Juno, and Sword, British and Canadian forces stormed ashore with tanks and air cover, smashing German strike points. Voice actor, German soldier captured at Juno. We fought until we could fight no more. Our machine gun was smashed, our officer dead. We raised our hands. The Canadians shouted at us, but they did not shoot. I was glad. I wanted to live. For many German soldiers, surrender became the only path to survival. But not all were so lucky. The German defenders had one hope: reinforcements. The feared Panzer Division's tanks that could crush the invaders, but Hitler was asleep. No one dared wake him. The order to release the panzers was delayed for crucial hours. By the time they rolled forward, the Allies had already established a beachhead. German officers account. We begged for the tanks. We begged for air support, but nothing came. Our men were left to die. By the evening of June 6, the Atlantic Wall was broken. Tens of thousands of Germans lay dead, wounded, or captured. Entire battalions had been annihilated. Survivors retreated inland, dazed and exhausted, knowing the war had changed forever. Voice actor German survivor. We had thought ourselves strong. We had thought our bunkers unbreakable, but in one day, everything was destroyed. For the Allies, D-Day was the beginning of liberation. For the Germans, it was the beginning of the end. In the years that followed, many German veterans reflected on D-Day with bitterness and sorrow. Some were angry at Hitler and the high command for their failures. Others mourned their comrades, young men thrown into a battle they could never win. Voice actor, German veteran, interview 1960s. I was 18 years old. I had never left my village before the war. On D-Day, I saw more death in 1 hour than in all my life. We were not heroes. We were just boys, trapped in a machine we could not escape. The story of D-Day is often told as triumph, and for the Allies, it was, but for the German soldiers, it was a day of fire and despair. A day when the sea itself seemed to rise against them. A day when the Atlantic Wall crumbled. A day when many realized the war was lost. This was D-Day, through German eyes.